You all know that my container garden is one of my favourite places for just impact and colour, and every single season it brings me joy. But what I wanted to say is that at the moment I'm not going to be adding or making any changes. So everything that is in the container garden now will kind of see me through autumn. So I've got plenty of variety. I've got some perennials, I've got my gorgeous dahlias, I've got the things that I've grown from seed this year. So all of that will just keep on going until the frost. So I'm not even thinking about adding anything there. And then the thing I think that people can't get their head around is that I don't empty all the pots at the end of the season. So I've got some fantastic perennials which have been in those pots for many years. So actually all I do when they finished at the end of the season is just go and put the pot somewhere out of sight and completely forget about it until spring. When spring comes, I will then, that's if I haven't done it in the winter, add a bit of mulch, so add some organic matter, well rotted horse manure or something like that, just to really add some nutrients back into that soil. And then when your new growth starts to emerge, you've then got a pot already ready to go. So my container garden is huge. I've got loads of plants in it, but it just does its own thing. So don't think, oh gosh, I've got to take all my perennials out and plant all my bulbs. I don't do that. So I have certain pots which are just allocated to those perennials, and I just leave them there all the time. And that is really how you can bulk up your container garden, by adding things with a really long period of interest. You can add shrubs, you can add climbers, add variety, and actually it's the perfect time, if you haven't even done that yet, to be thinking about it. And you will have seen in my container garden this year that I had lots of perennials which I had said to you I just added as cuttings and little divisions from my garden. So as you start to make changes in your garden and maybe take cuttings, maybe do some dividing this autumn, then save a little bit and put it in a pot and have it in your container garden, and it will just add a whole different dimension. So I'm going to flip you around and talk you through some of the plants that are looking amazing, where they came from and what I'm going to be doing with them this autumn. So as you can see, the September container garden is full, it's bursting, it's wafty, it's everything I dreamed it would be last year, because I went for different plants, different colours, and just didn't love it. And the best thing about the container garden this year, like I have said, is that it cost me very little money. The only sort of extra colour that I added for the year is always my annuals, so my bedding plants. So we've got petunia bubbles, some geraniums, so that instant sort of colour I did add, but the majority of this will just stay in the pot. So I will talk you through all of the different elements. So in this pot here is an amazing star jasmine, which I actually bought in a sale in the winter. My garden centre had a special offer on, and it was huge, and it was 25 quid. And then in the bottom of that pot, I added a tiny cutting of geranium roseanne, just to give me something to go at the base of that pot. So it cost me nothing. It's worked amazingly well. Then in this pot here, I have got Emma Bridgewater David Austin rose. That's just one rose in a pot. Went in the autumn, actually, at bare root season, kind of planting time, and it's done amazingly well, and that will just live in that pot. It's got lots of buds on it. It's very happy, very healthy, so I don't have to worry or even think about that. So when it is winter, I'll move that pot off the decking just to give the decking a bit of a break, and I'll put it back in place in the spring, because you won't believe it, but a rose will actually start to leaf up and look pretty good around March time. So incorporating that into your display for spring is perfect. So that's what I mean when I say think about all of the extra bits that you can be adding to your bulb. So it's not all about bulbs, it's not all about planting hundreds of bulbs, it's about what can you add to your display that you've already got that's not going to cost you anything extra. So that is a winner. I've then got a little bit of Erigeron around here. That was just one that I grew from seed in a little pot, and again, that is just easy plant. It flowers the whole year, grow it from seed, amazing addition. Let's have a look. I've also noticed in there, tucked away, is a little geum. So that did its thing earlier on in the year. And then I've got a really big pot full of Nepeta, catmint. All of that was cuttings, and I planted it in the pot in October last year. And that's just going to stay in there. It's just going to stay as a pot. So that is one pot for the whole of the next season done. So when you break it down like this, do you see what I mean? It really is much easier than you think. This salvia, Amistad, it's a really pretty one. It's sort of a little bit two-toned. That's been in that pot for 2 years. Very happy. I don't have to do anything with that, and that will go almost all the way till Christmas. That's a really late flowering one. So again, I just move the pot in and out of the display. Don't have to think about that. Job done. Dahlias. Now, when my dahlias come to an end, which will be around the time of the frosts, the dahlias come out, and I do then use those pots for spring bulbs. So that is a really good swap. So what I tend to do is dahlias and bedding plants then become the pots for the bulbs, and everything else stays the same, so you can kind of see that. Then I've got agastache, I've got some salvia that I had grown from seed, I've got an astrantia which actually was just from cuttings. So all of these things can just stay put in the pot. I've got this lovely thalictrum. That was just a tiny little cutting that I put in a pot with something else. Then I've got Cosmos of Air Annual. This lovely climber is Thunbergia, and it's an annual, but I will definitely grow it again next year because it was so easy. I didn't grow it from seed. I bought it as a plug, and it has been incredible. So I probably think I'll have that in my garden for many years because I love it so much. And then this side we've got a grass, sedum, delphinium. So this is the second flourish, so they very much feature in my spring display as well. And then all of these annual bedding plants that I said about, so they get planted up around late April, May time, and they just go all the way till the frost. So you can see that when you're planting the right things, it really does do you the whole season. And then as I squirm my way through here, verbena, that was just a cutting. This phlox, this has probably been in a pot for maybe 3 or 4 years. This was just a division that's got really nice and big. I've got a clematis in there, I've got a clematis over there, and then agastache, this was grown from seed, looks very soggy now. Arboretum, that salvia and that creeping jenny have been in that pot for 3 years, but actually that salvia's got really big now, so I'm going to swap it out for something else. But hopefully you can see, oh gosh, by looking at it like that, that actually I have got nothing to do here in September because all of this is going to see me through. It probably will see me through most of October as well. And as things really start to fade and look a bit rubbishy, I will just move the pots out of the display, so the display will maybe start to get smaller because I don't need to have everything on the display. But really, it's just a case of swapping things and just moving the pots out of sight. So very low maintenance. So when you really look at what I've got in this container garden, it could be that when you're plant shopping and you're looking for bargains, that if you're wanting to create a similar sort of display, that really it could be that you get yourself an Nepeta in the sale, or you get yourself a phlox, or you get some salvia and just allocate a pot to it, and that is just the pot it's going to live in. And it really helps you to create amazing displays with very little effort, and they don't have to be expensive at all.